Hey, ladies and gents, welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry, episode 262. As always, I'm your host, Jerrad Wyche, and I am joined by, as always, my co-host, Dominic Orlando.
This is also where we get really serious about drafting video games. Fantasy drafting, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you really play fantasy football. I do. So I'm coming off a fantasy football season in which, in my main league, I played in the championship and lost due to Justin Jefferson kind of disappearing in the last couple of weeks. I lost in the championship, and then in my secondary league, I finished in third place. So I still got money. I was in the prize pool, so that's good. But with this, it's a whole different ball of wax. I don't think I've ever won. I think you've won every year we've done this, right?
Yeah, they call that undefeated where I'm from.
So hopefully I can change things this time around. We're going to be doing a two-person league, Dom and I. Let's give our publisher names. Well, first off, let me mention we're going to be doing our Fantasy Critics League draft first, and then we're going to be moving over to do our predictions for the entire year. So my publisher this year in the Controlled Interest League of Smart Guys is Swimming in Sevens Software, which isn't good for Fantasy Critics League. You want to get something higher than sevens.
Hopefully that's not pathetic for you.
Exactly. And what's your publisher name?
We are Lordran Software.
Gotta stick on brand. Lordran that's the Royal City in Dark Souls 1, right?
It's like just the whole world, I think.
Okay. What's the name of the Royal City then? The one where the goblins take you?
And Orlando.
Yeah, that's where I got it confused. Lordran is like yeah, is it the world or is it like the country?
They don't really say if that's just like one continent or one region in a larger world, but like it's just that's all it's ever explained that it expands to is Lordran. So it could be a planet or it could be a country, I guess.
Yeah, like is it Westeros or is it Earth?
Right.
What exactly is it? So good team names on brand. Like you said, hopefully mine isn't prophetic and I just get a bunch of sevens. So we'll see what happens here. The way it's going to be working is a little bit different than usual. So by the end of the year, we're going to have 22 total games on our rosters. Today, we're drafting 10. We're drafting 8 regular games. We're drafting 1 unannounced game, which means that it could be a game that people are hoping for, there's rumors about, but hasn't been officially announced. So, for instance, games like Marvel's Wolverine or the Wonder Woman game, those don't count and can't be used. Whereas something like MGS1 Remake, or what was the example you gave, Don, before we started recording?
Mario Odyssey
2. Yeah, something like that. 2D Legend of Zelda game, right? Like none of those have been announced at all. So those count. And the other one that we're going to be drafting is the DLC, which I think Fantasy Critic League refers to as expansion, which is cool because whenever I think of expansion, I think of expansion packs for like the Nintendo 64, those classic gaming systems, which is always dope in terms of nostalgia. So we're going to be doing that. A lot of big choices to make this year. I'm going to be going first because I'm the loser, and that's right. We're not going to be doing snake draft just because with 2 people that doesn't really make sense. It's kind of weird. So we're just going to be going, I'll go first, then Dom will go back and forth in that manner. We'll be talking about our picks, why we're doing them. Did you make a list of games you wanted to draft? Because I made kind of like a draft board for myself for this.
I did. I just started listing games that I'm like, would be good picks. But then it turned out there's so many that it's like, I really needed to order them for it to be valuable. But I don't think with this middle chunk, there's not much you can go wrong with, I think. So plenty to choose from. But yeah, I do have a bit of a list.
There's tons of strategy too of like how many games undated do you take? How many games that already have dates do you take? Indie versus AAA. There's a lot of things going on. Forgive me if you hear the keyboard clacking. I'm going to be entering in our draft picks. I'm going to be trying to edit it out as much as I can. But once again, that can be tricky because sometimes I'll be talking while I'm typing stuff in. So please be a little bit forgiving on that end. Won't be any typing really when we go to the gaming predictions, but for this fantasy draft, there's going to be a little bit of typing, so forgive me in advance. Anyways, let's get this bad boy started. Start drafting. Warning, once you start, you can't stop. Okay. We're hopping in. I'm going first. I'm looking at my draft board real quick, Dom. And for me, I'll tell you something. I put all of the games I'm interested in into categories based on how I think they might score, how likely they are to release, that type of stuff. So for my list, I have a couple of games that are surefire. I'm picking at the top of the draft, and I'm going to take this one because I have to, and I'm pretty sure you know what it is. it's going to be Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Mhm.
Obviously, I wasn't as high as most people were on the first game, but I'm not dumb. I know this game's probably going to score very well. Even if it doesn't score as well as the original, it's still going to score very high.
Yeah,
So,
the
yeah, I can't
original
take any.
the original came in at what, like 97 or 96, something kind of obnoxious high. So you're in good shape.
Yeah, even if you're like, oh, this game's going to score lower, it could still score a 92, which is crazy points, you know? So that's my game. You're up next. I'm going to be drafting for you. Talk us through your process. What's your number one pick?
So that was, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom was kind of the low hanging fruit. That's obviously what we want, especially now that it's already been delayed significantly, so it's not likely to get delayed out of this year again. It's never say never, but that seems pretty locked in. From here, there's a lot of different directions we can go. That was a clear number one, I think. But oof. Obviously, we got Starfield out there. We got Marvel's Spider-Man 2 out there. Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil. There's a lot to go off of here. Man, I think though, I feel confident, and I'm gonna align with a prediction I'm gonna make later in the show for just a general prediction. But I think I'm gonna take Starfield because I feel really good about Bethesda and a bit of a redemption story for them. Because even going back to like Fallout 4, I don't think it had like, generally most people think is a pretty good, if not great game, but not super high Metacritic scores, right? And then obviously we have 76, and not a whole lot since then. I think with the delay this game got being at this point still indefinite, there's a chance that this game still doesn't come out this year, I guess. Though I would doubt it, but I feel like Bethesda is really making sure that this is the game people want, and Microsoft is supporting them with that. And I think a lot of people are itching for a Bethesda open world because it's been a minute since we've been treated to that, right? Because we've kind of talked about Western RPGs have been lacking a little bit in recent years. So this feels, I don't know, like a bit of a hopeful pick. Hopefully we can at least get into the high 80s with it. So I don't know that it's going to match up to Tears of the Kingdom, but I have high hopes for it.
So I locked that in for you. Unfortunately, I guess you can only do snake draft. So we're going to just do it snake draft. So you got to pick again. So it's going to be your next pick.
In that case, as I was talking about Starfield, I had an ounce of regret of maybe what I should have went with instead. And that is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
okay, surprising pick. All right.
So Neo 1 and Neo 2, I think were high 80s or around 90 Metacritic. They're very highly scored games, and I feel like this game will be even better. I think I like that it's not Neo 3, that it's a new IP going very, similar gameplay and everything, to maybe make some refinements to that formula. And I think this game is just gonna just do numbers. It's a bit more niche genre, being super super difficult, but I think it's gonna be a critical darling. If not, obviously it's not gonna sell gangbusters, but I think it's gonna get some bad scores.
All right, I'm just surprised you took it this early.
Mm-hmm.
But your
I feel good
confidence
about it.
says a lot. So for me, in my opinion, there was 2 games coming out this year that I'd be comfortable betting money on. They're going to be 90 plus Metacritic. I got the first one in Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and the other one is Diablo 4. So I'm taking Diablo 4.
Mm-hmm. That's what I almost went with.
That game is going to review very well. The early impressions are doing very well. It's one of those games that I think the only thing that could get in its way are like microtransaction stuff, and I'm hoping that isn't the case, and it doesn't seem like that's been involved too much in the preview stage, but once again, we've seen developers and publishers push that stuff in the 12th hour, so here's hoping that doesn't happen. So that's my first pick of my back-to-back picks. My second game, I think it's going to review very well. I'm just a little bit cautious as we are with sequels, but I got to take it, and that's Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
I got to grab that game. I think that game's going to review very well. Insomniac is pretty safe. I don't know if it'll be close to a 90, but I'm pretty confident it being at least like in the mid 80s. So I got to go with Marvel Spider-Man 2. You're on the board, Dom.
That's a good one. I only stayed away from it because I was like, it could get delayed out of this year. It's possible. Insomniac specifically doesn't delay things often, but some other Sony studios do. So you're probably safe, but I was a little.
And my only other thing there is, what else does Sony have for this year?
True.
It's like, if that were to get delayed, then it'd be kind of worrisome.
Jerrad, they have PSVR 2, which is obviously going to sustain them.
Sorry. Sorry.
Kidding, obviously. Okay. You made me nervous there because I thought you were going to take what to me is the best available game on the board. Another sequel, Hollow Knight Silk Song. But
okay.
Similar to Wolong Fallen Dynasty, people love the first game, and this one is it's taken its sweet time to come out, and I'm hoping that's a good sign. And like, it needs to come out. If it gets delayed out this year again, then I blame them and not me for having this confidence in them. I think this can be a great scoring game, and then a game that you and I are both gonna love too.
I just drafted 2 years in a row. I can't do it to myself again. That's why I kind of held off a bit, man. I can't do this again. My heart. You're up again though. Back-to-back picks.
It's getting tough. We still have a Fire Emblem game on the board, and we have a Star Wars Jedi Survivor on the board. Man,
there's some good stuff still there.
Yeah, I do. We have to go with Fire Emblem Engage. I think.
Okay.
It might not be as highly reviewed as Fire Emblem Three Houses was. It could be, but even if it's kind of like Tears of the Kingdom, even if it's not as good as the last one, that still means it'll be pretty good. That still means it'll be mid-80s, I think. So,
and it has a secure date that's coming out soon, which is pretty good for Fantasy Critics League. Like, if you can lock in those games that you know are coming out,
especially when
it's really good.
An early in the year date, like it's, I think, later this month or next month.
So I'm up next. Man, I'm salivating here with my choices. I got plenty of games I'm really interested in. I gotta go with this game. There's no way this game lets down people. I just don't see it doing that. I am worried because we got RE Remake 2, which was phenomenal. Then we got RE Remake 3, which is a little bit middling for most people. But you also have to take into account those base games before they were remade, right? 2 is considered one of the best. 3 people liked, but never as much. And 4 is considered an all-time great. So I think the base that you're working with has a lot to do with how the remake turns out. So I'm pretty confident in RE4 Remake. I'm taking that first. Looking at the rest of the list, it really comes down to me, and I'm fine to say these because I know that you're going to take one of them if I don't take it. So that's Star Wars Jedi Survivor and Forza Motorsport.
Oh,
now, Forza Motorsport obviously isn't a game that me and you are going to touch at all, but that doesn't mean it's not going to score very highly. It's the first Forza Motorsport on next gen. It's a reboot. This is something we have to take into account when we pick games as well, is that you have to think about the people who are going to review games, whereas the bigger titles tend to have a more general base of reviewers looking at them. These more niche genres tend to have people that are committed to it. So I'm going to go with Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I got to. Every ounce of me wanted to take Forza Motorsport because I think that's the safer pick of the two. But sometimes you gotta draft with your heart, Dom. You gotta draft with your heart, and I gotta take Survivor. That game looks so good. We both really loved the first one. I think that the performance issues and the map were the two biggest issues with the first game, and I think they can easily fix those. I have a lot of confidence in Respawn. We talk about studios that never miss. I'm very confident in Respawn, so that's why I took them, and now you're on the board.
Yeah. Well, since you left Forza on the board, I think that's what I gotta go with.
You're locking it in?
Yeah, let's do it. Like you said, it's a safe, consistent pick. That's a solid somewhere in the 80s, guaranteed. Yeah,
the racing games are never sexy picks for us, anyways, but they score well, man. Yeah, almost always. And since you have back-to-back picks, you're up again.
Man.
After this, you'll have 2 more before we get into our 2 special picks. So just keep that in mind.
Okay.
So you have 3 regular games left.
I think another safe pick. Actually, yeah. Another safe pick to me is... Oh, I hate to do it. You know what? No, we're going to get weird with it. We're going to go out of our comfort zone. Like a Dragon Ishin. Lock it in.
Good pick. There's 2 of these coming out this year, right? There's Like a Dragon Ishin, and there's another one, Like a Dragon something.
And I am not the expert on these at all, but I know that people love that shit. And I hope reviewers do too this time.
So I got 3 picks left as well. Or wait, no. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I got 3 picks left as well, so I'm picking 2 of my 3 next. And regular picks anyways. And I'm looking at it, and this is another game that I think I'm pretty interested in checking out, especially because of the setting being fantasy this time around. And I know these games tend to review pretty well, so I got to take Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
Of the 2 Final Fantasy games slated for 2023, I think this one is the one that has a way higher chance of actually coming out. Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth seems like a pipe dream at this point. And the way people are talking about this game and it returning, like I said, to the fantasy setting, I think is going to be good for that game. And yeah, I might not play it, you might not play it, but I think it'll score well regardless. My second pick. Now, this is a tough one. This is kind of going back to the motorsport discussion of, do I take the game that I think is going to score well in a genre I don't touch at all, or do I take a different game? Now, if there wasn't so many issues surrounding Stalker 2's development, those developers are from the Ukraine. They had to move to the Czech Republic because of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I'd be really interested in that game. I think it looks really cool. I just don't know if that game's even coming out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you know what? You got Fire Emblem Engage. I need to get my Fire Emblem Engage, which means it's a game that's coming out soon that has a date that I'm pretty confident is going to score very well. I'm going to go with Dead Space Remake.
Yeah.
That's going to be my pick. You have to have some of those picks where, like, the release date's soon, you know it's coming out. I don't think this game's going to score bad. You just need to get some points on the board, because as the year goes on, games start slipping, they get delayed. I need some more games that I know are releasing, for sure.
Man,
and you're doing your last 2 regular picks, so you're on the board back to back.
There's still some ones up there that don't have dates that are tempting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Boy. Like, I'm really thinking about Alan Wake 2. I know that should review well, and I think they said it'll be this year, but I'm not super confident that it that it actually happens. And then, of course, we have a controversial one up there with Hogwarts Legacy. Might not be a terrible pick if you can stomach it. Oof. Got those good remakes off the board already, too. Pikmin 4. Oof. Because now I'm into my bench here. He took some of the ones I wanted. Oh, man. I think let's go with Redfall. I feel safe that it's going to come out. We're not going to get any more delays from it. We've already had some. And just, even though I have some questions and some hesitations about the game, as far as like it maybe not reviewing super high with what they've shown and what we know about it, at the end of the day, it's Arcane. And Arcane, their games just always slap and they review well. We're talking about Dishonored and man, what's the one last year that was a
Deathloop.
Oh man, Deathloop. Yeah. Also, I think we're going with it. Redfall, lock it in. We're gonna kill some vampires. Let's go.
So there's actually some information that recently came out about Redfall that I think is a positive for it. Is that the developers were talking about the game, and a lot of people have been comparing this to, is it going to be like Left 4 Dead, or what's the new one that came out that was inspired by Left 4 Dead?
Back 4 Blood.
Back 4 Blood is going to be that type of game, right? Because it looks like that, but replace zombies with vampires. And they actually came out and said, no, our game is closer to Destiny than it is to those type of games, which has me excited.
Interesting.
Because it's kind of, you have to kind of go into the minutia of how those games are different, obviously. But it gets me excited for both the narrative of the game. Not that Destiny's narrative is incredible, but I prefer that more than what we've gone in like a Left 4 Dead style game. And also how it's going to function as a platform. Whereas I think with Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood, they can become stale because it's a single level you're going to over and over again. Whereas if Redfall is built like Destiny, that they're adding expansions, new areas, remixing things, I think that can be really exciting, especially for the unique characters they have presented with their weapon kits and skill sets and all of that. So I think, honestly, this has a chance to be a sneaky good game this year because it's kind of flying under the radar. And with devs talking that it's closer to Destiny than something like Left 4 Dead, I think that from a critical review point of view, I think that's better for that game in terms of what it could possibly be. So we'll see.
That's good.
And what's your last regular game? Sorry, what were we going to say? Were we going to add on?
No, yeah, that's just good to hear. No, I hadn't read that news about Redfall yet. So that has me, like, same as you, that has me actually more interested than I was before. Because, yeah, I wasn't sure, is this going to be like a really multiplayer focused experience that, kind of like Left 4 Dead, but, Destiny kind of being a little bit more single player friendly, I think has me a little bit more excited now too. Yeah. So next though is tough because I mentioned Hogwarts Legacy, man, but I don't think I can get away with leaving Suicide Squad on the board at this point. That last trailer.
You're locking that in? That's your final game?
Say that again?
Are you locking it in? Is that your final game?
Oh, man. Yeah, let's do it. I feel good about the free agent picks or the free agent signings or whatever afterwards. So I think Suicide Squad could. This is Rocksteady at the end of the day. They're not going to give us, they're not going to give us a dud, even if, the risks are in the multiplayer aspects if things, don't work properly or just aren't fun from that perspective. But I think it's got to have a great story and good moment-to-moment gameplay. I have faith at least that they're going to hit that. So I think this is at least a high 70s at worst, I'm hoping, for Suicide Squad. Let's lock it in.
So here's the thing. This is the tough part about having the last regular pick for this draft is that there's some games I want to pick, but do I think you're going to try to bid me for them?
Mm-hmm.
Do I take a game that I know you're going to bid me for so I have it automatically, And there's two games that I want to draft because I think they're going to score well, but I have a feeling that I might be able to get him
right
for bid.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go with the game that I think you might try to bid me for. I think it's a bit of a risk because it's not super confirmed for this year, but I got to, and that's Sea of Stars. I got to take this. It's been a game that I've been yearning for a while now. Their developer updates are incredible. I am a little worried that it might not come out this year, but it and Hollow Knight Silksong are like my two indie games that I want to play this year. Obviously, there's other ones I'm super interested in, but those two are like the ones. So that's going to be it. So now I got to draft. I guess the way we'll make it work is I'll draft my unannounced first, then you draft your unannounced and DLC, and then I'll draft DLC last. So I'm going to be drafting my unannounced game. And let me see if it's in the database. Let me check. Yes. So I'm going with Pokemon Let's Go 2. I think that's going to be the major Pokemon release this year. I think the rest of it's just going to be the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, I think that's what I'm going with because they've been on a track record of releasing a game a year, and it's been a while since the original Let's Go came out. And I do know that they like to release casual games, even more casual than the main line, to get more people interested, kind of like a pipeline to the Pokemon franchise and people's wallets. So yeah, I'm going to go with Pokemon Let's Go 2 as my unannounced title. So now it's you're drafting your unannounced game.
I know what I want. It's just, by nature, this is a risky category. Like, it's not even been announced, so how's it going to get announced and released in the same year, right? But if it does, if this hits, then I feel like it almost all but guarantees me the whole victory. So we're gonna you gotta risk it to get the biscuit, right? So we're gonna go for Persona 6.
Persona 6. Okay, let's see.
It's like,
That has to be in the database. Persona 6. Yeah, it is.
I think so. Okay, cool. Because that's, yeah, I wouldn't count on it happening and coming out this year, but if it does, it's gonna be points. You know that.
And now you're drafting your expansion.
This is a tough one between the Horizon DLC and the Destiny DLC. But I feel like the Horizon DLC is actually the safer bet. First game had really great DLC. I believe that reviewed really well too. And the Forbidden West base game also got really great reviews. I think it was like something like 87 or 88 kind of range. And so like that expansion has got to be, at least close to that. Maybe at worst a few points less. So we're going with the Horizon, not the VR game, but the proper DLC Forbidden West.
Burning Shores, yeah.
Yeah.
The one taking place in LA, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm drafting the last game. I'm drafting my expansion. Now this one's interesting because the options. There's Destiny 2 Lightfall. There's Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty.
Oh, that might be a good one.
Which I think could be. There's the Elden Ring DLC, which is a bit of a risk.
Does it exist? Yeah.
Yeah, there's Splatoon 3 DLC. Mm-hmm. There's the Mario plus Rabbids Rayman DLC. And there's this one, Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. Which I think could also be very good.
Yeah.
And for me, looking at this list, I really think it comes down to Cyberpunk and Dead Cells. And it's tough because both of these games started in weird places. Where Dead Cells came out, was an indie darling, people loved it. Now it's including a DLC that's from a franchise that people want to return. And Cyberpunk came out like a wet fart and has come back to prominence, and people like that game now. And if there's one thing I've learned in my lifetime, you can't bet against Idris Elba. So I'm taking Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty.
I like it though.
As my expansion.
That's a fun pick.
So it is. That is the main draft. We're gonna go to our counter picks now. We're drafting one counter pick, but we need 3 total by the end of the year. So I'm gonna go over our drafts real quick. For me, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo 4, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Final Fantasy 16, Dead Space Remake, and Sea of Stars. My unannounced game is Pokemon Let's Go 2. My expansion is Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Dom's draft: Starfield, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, Hollow Knight Silksong, Fire Emblem Engage, Forza Motorsport, Like a Dragon Ishin, Redfall, Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Your unannounced game is Persona 6, and your expansion is Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores. Now, you have the first counter pick. What are you going to counter pick, Dom?
All right, this is tougher. So are we able to counter pick the unannounced game?
Let me check. Yes, you can.
Because that feels.
No. I don't think
easy.
that's fair. I don't think we can. I think we can. You can counterpick the DLC. I don't think you can counterpick the Dream, because what's the point? It's just like a confirmed 0 more than likely.
Right. Okay. I think that makes more sense, because going back to how much we talked about, there's so many good games to pick from. That makes this harder because all your games.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared looking at your list.
Yeah.
This one, it's not even like which game will I get 0 points or like positive points. Like, which one will I get the least amount of points taken? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Because, all yours. I have like the slightest inclination that Spider-Man 2 might get delayed out of the year, but
if
everything
it doesn't,
else,
that might hurt you really hard.
Exactly. Because that's going to pull probably a 90 at least. So I guess we got to go Sea of Stars, just because that's an indie game. And sometimes those things get, just you never hear from it. They get the Hollow Knight Silksong and then just disappear for 3 years or whatever. Or they just
locking that in?
Yeah, counterpick Sea of Stars.
Okay.
Good luck.
I thought you were honestly going to go with Dead Space Remake.
That was what I also tinkered with, yeah.
Now I got to draft a counterpick for you. Now I'm looking at this. Hollow Knight Silksong is the Marvel Spider-Man 2 for me. Of like, I don't know if that game comes out this year. Persona 6, I obviously I can't draft that. Redfall, Starfield. Honestly, I'm looking at this list and it comes down to either Suicide Squad or the Horizon Forbidden West DLC. I mean, I could also see Like a Dragon not reviewing well, but my unfamiliarity with everything there kind of makes me scared. I think Wolong is like an 84 at the very least. I'm pretty confident in Starfield and Redfall. I know maybe some people would pick either of those games, but I'm not even going to attempt that. Hollow Knight Silksong, Forza
We have faith in
Motorsport,
Bethesda around here. Let's go.
Exactly. And Fire Emblem Engage, I think, is going to score really well too. So Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. My one worry with that game is that it plays best multiplayer, and the people that review it play it single player.
Mm-hmm.
That's my one worry with that game. I have faith in I was going to say Arcane.
It's also Kevin Conroy's Swan Song.
Rocksteady.
Don't forget.
Yeah,
Affecting the
but
hearts
that
of
also
reviewers.
is like, yeah. Burning Shores. There's no way that reviews poorly. No shot. I'm gonna go for least damage. I gotta go with Suicide Squad because here's the thing: if that bites me in the ass on Fantasy Critic, that means it won't bite me in the ass in real life because I'll be excited to play that game. So
Win-win.
I mean, I'm either right or I'm
Win.
happy, Dom. That's how I look at it. So, yeah, that's it for our drafts. Our counter picks were Dom took Sea of Stars and I took Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. We'll see how great or poorly those age. Yeah, so for the rest of the year, we have 12 games to pick up. We can bid now for games, and that's going to be interesting because it's like, do you bid on games that don't have release dates because you can kind of trap yourself in because we can only drop games we drafted. I don't know if I mentioned that at the top. So that's going to be worrisome. And I can't drop Sea of Stars even if it gets announced for not coming out, even though I drafted it because you counterpicked it, and same for you at Suicide Squad. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, are you happy with your draft? I'm pretty happy with my draft, I would say.
I think I'm going to stay undefeated.
Dang, okay, them's fighting words. All right, all right.
I feel real good.
You understand in this situation, you're the Packers and I'm the Detroit Lions, right? You understand that?
Yeah, and up until this point, though, I hadn't been dishing out the same kind of disrespect that Green Bay has. But now, all of a sudden, I find myself acting very cocky, which is unlike me. But you're right. That's the dynamic we've set up here.
Yeah, I think so. On paper, if I'm being honest, I think my roster is stronger than yours. But I do think mine is a little bit riskier too. Interested to see how it plays out. I think this is going to be probably our highest scoring year, I think.
Yeah.
Because I just think there's so many good games coming out this year. I think it's going to really come down to what we pick post-draft and what mistakes we make of maybe picking up a game and then it just never comes out or reviews very poorly. None of us drafted Forspoken, so I'm happy that we know what we're looking at.
Or Hogwarts. We
or Hogwarts, yeah. And that one's interesting because, as I've thought more about that game, whether or not I'm going to play it, I kind of come to the understanding that, like, as a consumer, there's really no ethical consuming. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to have a moral high ground when you're a consumer in Western culture because it's like, yeah, you don't want to do this. You don't want to buy this because it'll affect J.K. Rowling's pocket of being a transphobe. But you buy from this place that actively employs child labor. Like, there's, you know what I mean? It's
everything. You could find something ethically concerning somewhere in the supply chain. Yeah. We try to do our best when we can, but it's so much of it is out of our hands, I feel like.
It doesn't mean you can't make a firm stand for things, but I also at the same point I think it makes it so you shouldn't be as harsh on people because in the end of the day we all make those decisions dozens of times a day. So
right.
It is what it is. On to a happier subject now that the Fantasy Critics League is done. Or maybe not happy depending on how bad we do. We're going to go over our 2023 gaming predictions. The way this works is we have 3 distinct categories: Metacritic or Open Critic predictions, will it release, and the Big 10, which are a collection of 10 questions I've come to ask us. I'll explain the scoring system for each round. It's Dom versus I. We'll see how this goes. Last year, we tied Dom at 6 points apiece. I have changed some of the scoring to be a little less forgiving, so we have higher point totals at the end of the year to kind of feed our ego, so we're not finishing with like 2 points. But yeah, let's get into this. And we also have our own independent predictions at the end of it as well. First up down, we have Open Critic predictions. The way it works is on December 31st, 2023, I'm going to look at Open Critic for all of the scores of these games, and it's going to determine how many points we score. If we get it perfectly, we get 5 points. If we're between 1 and 4 points, we get 4 points. If we're within 5, we get 3 points. If we're 6 to 10 points off, we get 2 points. And if you're 10 plus away, you get minus a point. So it's pretty forgiving. So as long as you're within 10 points, you're scoring.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're getting negative points. I think that's pretty fair, right? I think it's a good change from last year.
Yeah. We shouldn't end up 6 versus 6 in points after this.
Here's hoping. Yeah. So we're going to start off. Do you want to go first? Since I know the games, I think it's only fair that you go first, and then I'll give my score after. I think that's... Okay. So first up is Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
This is such a tricky one because I have hesitations with it. Specifically that if we remember back to Breath of the Wild, when that game launched, it actually kind of had like a not great frame rate. There were some technical, irregularities around that, and this is the same hardware, 6 years later now that it's coming out on. So if they wanted to push the game further graphically in any way or make it bigger, then they might end up, having some technical issues that affect it. So I don't think it gets as high as Breath of the Wild. So, but I still think it's going to just blow the doors off and probably going to, let's say 94.
Okay, I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going 91.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that way I can almost guarantee myself some points depending on how it swings. So I'm going to go with 91. To your point, though, I think also the art style made people a little less forgiving of the overall visual fidelity of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of removed from some of the muddiness that you could see on screen. Next up, Starfield.
Yeah, this is a really tricky one too. Because it could be, it probably won't be a Fallout 76 type score, right? But
people forget that game wasn't even primarily developed by Bethesda Game Studios.
True, but let me even look back to
Fallout 4. I think Fallout 4 was 86.
That sounds right. But okay, wow, Skyrim was higher than I thought at 94. Actually, wow.
Yeah, man. Skyrim became a joke because of it releasing and everything, but that game reviewed very well.
I kind of forget that, the reviews are like that. I think this could, go up against Skyrim. But I think it doesn't quite get to that, so let's say, realistically, this is a 90.
I'm sticking with you. I'm going 90 as well. Marvel Spider-Man 2.
$91.
Okay, I'm going 88. I think this game will review very well. My one concern with this game is how original the story is going to be, because I think when you do a Venom story, you can fall into a lot of the same tropes that people are familiar with of okay, Peter's angry. People around him don't know how to deal with him. What's going on? Mm-hmm. How do you get rid of the Venom suit? You have to go find something loud that makes waves to make it shriek and fall. There's a lot of tropes in Spider-Man storytelling you can fall into, which I'm a little worried about. But I am confident in Insomniac, so I'm going to go with 88. I can't see this game scoring lower than an 80. Honestly, I can't see it scoring lower than 85, but
yeah,
you never know. Also, this game's PS5 only, right?
I believe so. And then
I think could be a benefit for it. I mean, it didn't hold back God of War Ragnarok that it was on multiple platforms, but I do think that could be a boom too for its performance that it's only working on one platform.
You also have Miles Morales going in there, and I'm pretty sure we expect to play as both Spider-Man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm curious. I just want to see this game. I'm curious, how that changes the Venom story. Maybe Venom doesn't even attach to Peter and actually just goes to Miles or something. But you're right. As long as they should hopefully try to avoid the story beats that we've already seen, several times.
Do you have a prediction related to the gameplay of this game for later? I don't. I'm just asking.
Not related to the gameplay specifically. No.
Okay, so I want to say my hot take is I think there's a point in this game where we play as Harry Osborn.
Like as Hobgoblin or Green Goblin, kind of a thing.
Well, no, remember he was
Walking
getting
around like MJ type of thing.
Maybe, but he was getting killed by the symbiote. Remember, that's the whole thing.
Oh, that was the symbiote. I remember him being in it, like in the green tank as the
and the black thing. It came out and stuck to the thing. Remember, that was the whole thing. It was the Venom symbiote.
Okay. Memory's hazy, I guess, but okay, that's a good. Interesting. I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Oh,
or we could even play as like a sick recovering version of him, like walking around his home or something. You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking, because of, although like people didn't like that segment in the first game where you played as Mary Jane and you just kind of like walked around and took pictures and hid behind museum fixtures.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think people like, obviously it wasn't the best part of the game, but I think it switched up the gameplay enough to make it refreshing.
I wasn't too
next
hard
up,
on it either.
Final Fantasy 16.
I'm glad you picked the games you did. This is tougher. 83.
Okay, I'm going 86. A little bit more confident in you than you, but I'm kind of hedging my bet because if this gets mid 70s, I still can get points for it. Diablo 4.
I hadn't thought too hard about it until you kind of talked about it when you drafted it, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it does do well. I'm going to say 88.
I think this game has a chance to be the highest reviewed game of the year. I honestly do.
Dang.
Now, am I going to predict that? No, because I don't think you really win anything from I nailed it perfectly at being a 95. So I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to go 91. That's how I'm going with that game. Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
This is another tricky one. I feel like, I don't even know. The first game I think must have came in like low 80s. I think it'll be better. So I'll say 85.
I'm going 87. I think it'll be in that range. I think it'll be between like 83 and 89. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, if it's a 90, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Redfall.
I know I drafted this and I have high hopes for it from that perspective. But like, yeah, this is a little interesting because you almost don't want to go too high just for the sake of getting it super accurate, because you lose some of that window. If you go above 90, right, then like you start to lose that window of just getting 1 or 2 points. So for Redfall, I'll say 85 again.
Okay, I'm going 83. Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League.
I feel good about it, and it's Rocksteady. 88. We're bringing it. Rocksteady's bringing it.
So this is the most gamesmanship prediction I'm making, because I'm definitely just trying to get points either way. I'm going with a simple 80, because if it scores in the low 70s, I'll get a point at least, and if it scores in the high 80s, I'll get a point. It's just, I don't know, man, what this game's going to turn out to be on the positive or the negative. So yeah, I'm going to be safe and just go with 80. RE4 Remake.
Dang. 83.
83, okay. I'm going to go with 90. Now, this is a little secret one I tossed in there. This last one is free choice. You can take any game that wasn't on this list, tell me what the game is, and give me the open critic prediction.
Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going to take.
Yeah. And it's going to score a 91.
91. Okay, that's
swinging
bold.
for the fences. Yeah.
I'm going to say, and we both have to score the game too, obviously. I'm going to say 86. Man, I hope that game's good. That might be one of the, we have Liza Pina. I was going to say, that might be one of the only Souls-likes we get this year. I'm wrong. There's plenty of Souls-like we'll be getting this year, as in every year. What do I go with? Do I go with the game I drafted, or do I go with the game you drafted? You know what? I'm going to go with Fire Emblem Engage. game you drafted, which I'm excited for. That game reviews well. I'm hopping in right away because I missed out on the Three Kingdoms thing. That'll be my first 2023 game. I'm gonna go with 85. I think it's a safe pick in terms of where it's gonna go. I hope it's higher, and I think it might be higher, but I'm gonna go with 85.
We're doing one more then.
Well, no, we both do the score for Fire Emblem Engage. Remember, I did the score for Wolong.
Like I picked it. For some reason, I already thought. No, I'm gonna say 86.
86. Okay, you just prices right to me. I got it. So that's it for the Open Critic predictions. We'll see how those go. And thankfully we're gonna be getting points this year from those. Next up is a pretty self-explanatory one too. So this one is the will it release section. We get a point for everyone who get right. We get minus a point for everyone who get wrong, and we get one push. Meaning, if there's a game that we just don't want to answer either way for, we can say that's my push, and it just comes in at a 0. So we don't lose points, but we also don't gain points for it. Once again, since I know the game's Dom, it's only fair that you go first. So you're just going to tell me, is it releasing or is it not releasing in the calendar year? Okay?
Bring it.
And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. I picked 5 AAA, 5 indie games. Okay. Starfield.
Yes.
Hellblade 2 Senua's Sacrifice.
No.
Last of Us Factions. Last of Us 2 Factions. Or whatever that game's titled.
Yeah, whatever it is. Last of Us Multiplayer.
Armored Core 6.
That's the one they just
Fires
announced,
of Rubicon. Right? Yes.
Yeah, that's coming out this year for sure.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
No.
Now it's for the indies. Hollow Knight Silksong.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you drafted it, so hopefully. Sea of Stars.
I counterpicked it. But I just felt like it was most likely to not come out based on the other games you drafted. That was driving the counter pick, but I do think it does come out this year, yes.
And all 5 of these indie games are slated for 2023. That they have the date, but obviously you never. 3, Mina the Hollower.
No.
That's a new Yacht Club's game for everyone who doesn't know. 4, Replaced.
No.
That's the like cyberpunk side-scrolling game from I think a Ukrainian studio. They've been affected by the Russian invasion. And lastly, I forgot this game existed because I thought it already released. Little Devil Inside.
Oh. Interesting.
The indie PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I don't know enough about it to make an educated pick.
Okay, so I'm going to give my answers. Starfield, yes. Hellblade 2 Senua's Sacrifice, yes. I think that comes out in September. Last of Us Factions or Last of Us 2 Factions or whatever, no. Armored Core 6, I got to say no. I just don't think that game. I honestly think they're going to prioritize the Elden Ring DLC, and this one's going to slide a little bit because of it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, hell no. Hollow Knight Silksong, yes. Sea of Stars, yes. Mina the Hollower, yes. Replaced, yes. Little Devil Inside, no.
Dude, I hope you win this round big with all those yeses.
Yeah. I think I had 2 yeses in AAA, and I had 4 yeses in indie. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Next up, we got the Big 10. This is the little bit more lengthy of the section. I have 10 questions. Once again, since I wrote them, it's only fair that Dom goes first and answers. You ready, Dom, for the Big 10? How do you think we should do this? Should you answer question 1 and then I answer question 1, then we move on, or do you want me to do you all 10 and then me all 10?
Let's alternate. I think that'd be better, so we kind of stay on topic a bit more.
Yeah, instead of to do the talking points and have to do them again. So, first up, which indie dev fully reveals their next project this year? Oh, by the way, neither of us pushed the last round. Same thing works this round. For every, this only works for single answer questions in this, but for every one you get right, you get a point. Some of them you can get multiple things right or multiple things wrong. So you get a minus point for every one you get wrong, plus point for everyone you get right. And then you can push a question if you want to. Neither of us pushed on the last one. Retroactively, we can push if you want to on any of them.
I will.
No, okay, let's stick.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question: what indie dev will fully reveal their next project this year? You can choose as many as you want. Playdead, Moon Studios, who made Ori, and Tarsier Studios, who made Little Nightmares.
Shoot.
And I use the word fully reveal because we've seen concept art for Play Dead. So.
Then I'll say the Little Nightmare Studio.
Tarsier, that's the only one you're picking. The other two you're deferring on?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say we see Play Dead's next game, and that's it. And I'm deferring on the other two. We went opposite direction. Neither of us like Moon Studios, especially with the controversy last year. Yeah, just stay quiet for a bit. Next up, this category is called Sequelitis. Question number 2, Dom. Will this game score higher or lower than its predecessor? Okay. No push on this. You have to answer all of them, higher or lower. And I'm going to give you the open critic of the first game. Octopath Traveler 2, 84. Higher or lower?
84. Yeah, the first one got, huh? Yeah, I think it's better. I think it'll be better. It'll improve.
Hollow Knight Silksong, 90.
That's tough. I'll push this one, actually.
Okay. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, 82.
Higher, for sure.
Marvel Spider-Man 2, 88.
Higher.
Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, 96.
Lower.
For me, Octopath Traveler 2, I'm going to say lower. Hollow Knight Silksong is my push. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, higher. Marvel Spider-Man 2, higher. Tears of the Kingdom, lower. Next, question number 3. Between Starfield, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and Marvel Spider-Man 2, how many of them will have DLC announced by the end of 2023? For bonus points, explain the focus of it.
How many? None of them are going to have DLC announced by the end of this year.
Okay.
Take that to the bank.
Really? All right. So, I'm going to say all 3 of them have DLC announced by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, remember, it's not releasing, it's announced.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bethesda will announce the roadmap for Starfield by the end of the year. I think they're going to want to get people excited. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see it at the Game of the Year. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I also think we're going to see the tease of some expansion by the end of the year. And Marvel Spider-Man 2, I also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think, didn't one of the DLCs come out for that game the same year it was released?
That
City
might
That
be.
Never Sleeps?
But what time of the year did the first game come out? Was it like
September.
Oh shoot. Okay. if that's the case, and if they had done that, the game.
In even
release...
worse case, this game comes out in November. Like I said, it's announced.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay. I'm going all 3, and I'm gonna stick my head out on a limb and for Starfield, and I'm gonna say that the DLC is gonna be related to returning back to the Milky Way galaxy in our specific solar system. I think it's gonna be something about like returning to mankind or like it's gonna be distinctly focused on us going back to Earth or near Earth to some extent. Is gonna be my. Okay. I was gonna say Tears of the Kingdom is like vehicle related, but I think the motorcycle didn't come out for like 2 years after Breath of the Wild, right?
Yeah, some of that stuff. There's a few different, I feel like, pieces of DLC that they pushed out over a long period of time.
And for clarity, these have to be like named DLC. It can't be like update 1.0 or something. You know what I mean? It has to be like, oh, that's DLC. Next up, question number 4. Will Elden Ring see the release of a major DLC expansion in 2023? If so, will it have the name of a known character in the title, be the focus of the narrative, both, or neither?
Man. Yes, there will be Elden Ring DLC. And there will not be a character name in the title.
And will it be the focus of the narrative, though? A character? A known character.
Right, like is it the Pop Guys DLC, basically? No.
Or the Ghost of Blade? No? Okay. I agree with you. I think there's going to be Elden Ring DLC. I don't think a character's name is going to be in the title, a known character, but I do think that the DLC is going to focus on it. Like in the trailer for the DLC, we're going to be like, oh, dang, that character's getting a DLC expansion.
Mhm.
I don't know what character specifically, but I do think it's going to be a character we know from the story of Elden Ring. So that's that. Next up, this is an extended one again, Dom. Does it get a new trailer and or dated? Okay. So the list of games that you're going to tell me is it going to get a new trailer, or it could be both. So you're just saying yes or no. So if you think it's getting a new trailer or even just dated, you're going to say yes. If you don't think it's getting neither, you say no. Okay.
Right.
Mass Effect 4.
No. And no.
Dragon Age 4.
Yes. New trailer.
You don't have to specify. It's just, if you think it's getting either of those, it's a yes. If you don't, then it's a no. Next up, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora.
No. Nothing.
Ubisoft Star Wars game.
No, I
The
don't think
Bounty
there's
Hunter one specifically, like the massive one.
Yeah, I don't think there's a trailer. I think I'm not. No, I think at most we see a splash screen. Logo. That's it.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Definitely no.
Star Wars Eclipse.
Definitely no.
Skydance Amy Hennig's Captain America Black Panther game.
Oh shit! I hope so. Yeah, let's see it. It'll happen.
For the vibes. The Outer Worlds 2.
No.
Avowed.
Yes.
Fable.
No.
Marvel's Wolverine.
No.
This one was recently leaked. Bungie's next game.
It was leaked. Interesting.
Well, people think it's Bungie's next game. It was a Sony first-person shooter thing, and there's a lot of breadcrumbs that lead it to be Bungie's next game.
I'll say yeah, especially because they're Sony now, so we'll see something 3-4 years in advance of it actually releasing. Or, at least a
Metroid
trailer.
Prime 4.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go through them now. Mass Effect 4, yes, and I think it comes with the title of the game. Dragon Age 4, yes. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, especially with that sequel coming out this year, yes. Ubisoft Star Wars game, especially with their recent financial disclosures, yes.
Good point.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, no. Star Wars, the only reason I think that might be a possibility is because PlayStation was kind of MIA last year, and I think they want a big pop this year, especially with us only really knowing what Spider-Man and Final Fantasy 16 is exclusives. Star Wars Eclipse, I hope not. Skydance Amy Hennig's Captain America Black Panther game, I'm with you. I'm just going to say yes for the vibes. The Outer Worlds 2, no. Avowed, yes. Fable, yes. Marvel's Wolverine, yes. I think Marvel's Wolverine specifically will be at the Game Awards. I think Insomniac is going to get a lot of pop with Spider-Man 2 being up for a bunch of awards, right? I mean, barring it not coming out this year, but I'm of the opinion it comes out this year. I think they're going to want to show off their next game. Bungie's next game, no. Metroid Prime 4, no. So we'll see. Next up, question number 6, Dom. What will be the score difference on OpenCritic between Skull and Bones and Ubisoft's highest reviewed new game in 2023?
Wow, that's a hell of a question. So Skull and Bones, I'm gonna say, could be low 70s, maybe a little higher if they're lucky, if everything goes perfectly for them.
And this one is whoever gets closest, by the way, gets it.
So
right.
Then Ubisoft, I feel like there's gonna be that Assassin's Creed game that might come out this year, the one that's like more like the original Assassin's Creeds, and that could be 80s, on a great day. So I'm gonna say 10-point differential.
I'm gonna say 18.
Yeah, I could have won.
I think Assassin's Creed Mirage is going to be their highest reviewed game, and I think that game is going to score in the mid to low 80s, and I think there's a very real chance that Skull and Bones is in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
I think that there's a very good chance that happens. I thought it was a fun question. So, following that up, what will have the lowest OpenCritic score between these three games? Forspoken, Skull and Bones, and the SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake.
Seriously? Skull and Bones, dude. For sure.
The worry here is SpongeBob SquarePants, I think, has good vibes, and I think it's going to be a fun game, but I don't know how well a game with that, like, dated design is going to review in 2023. Yeah. I'm with you, though. I think it's Skull and Bones. I think Forspoken is going to be more disappointing because I think people want it to be higher, but I can't see it scoring lower than Skull and Bones. I think people are going to look at the Skull and Bones score and be like, okay, that makes sense. And Forspoken, it's like, dang, you know.
Like Forspoken,
maybe Forspoken reviews well. Who knows?
It could be, in my head, you know, like high 70s. That's kind of where I'm seeing it, right? But then, Skull and Bones, I'm like, that could be 70 or even lower.
Speaking of, like, relating it to, like, NFL drafts, I think the floor for Forspoken is, like, mid-70s. Mm-hmm. I think the floor for Skull and Bones is in the basement.
Exactly.
Not great. And I think SpongeBob SquarePants Cosmic Shake, it's going to be like a 75, but it's going to be dope. So I'm not too worried about it.
Goofy and charming or something enough.
Exactly. Next up, which studios announced their next game? So you have to say yes or no to each of these, okay? Sony Bend.
Yes.
Naughty Dog. This doesn't count Factions. This is new, like, unknown game.
No, they do not.
Blue Point.
Yes.
Double Fine.
No.
Tango Gameworks. This is Evil Within guys. They did Ghostwire Tokyo.
No.
The Coalition.
And this is the new Xbox Studio.
No, that's the... I was going to say the Invitation. That's the... something with an I. The Initiative. The Coalition is the Gears studio. And I want you to work with the same information I do. So Gears 5 came out in 2019. And since then, it's been reported they have 2 games in the works. They have Gears 6, and they have an unannounced new IP.
Yeah, I think so. I think Microsoft is going to, like, really hit hard with game releases this year. That, you know, kind of some stuff that we've been waiting for. But then on the flip side, I think they also continue to get us excited for new stuff. They've already been doing
things for people to look forward to. Yeah,
exactly. So I think they hit on both of those cylinders this year, which is obviously going to be good for them.
And I think the more likely thing is they get Gears 6 out of the way to finish off that second trilogy first, and then they drop their new IP, if I was the betting man. My answers. Sony Bend, with all of the stuff with Days Gone and everything, I do think that studio needs a win. And with new leadership, I do think they want to get their new vision out there. To your point of Xbox wanting to get people excited for the future, we're kind of in a weird place with PlayStation where, like, we know Wolverine's coming and we know Factions is coming, but there's not a whole lot to, like, look forward to, really, outside of Spider-Man. Not in a bad way. Obviously, they have bangers in development. It's just I want to know what those are. So I think Sony Bend shows up. I didn't put Ghost of Tsushima dev on here.
Sucker Punch.
Where they, yeah, because they're in a weird place, too. I don't know what they're going to do. But hopefully they showcase their new game. Sony Bend, yes. Naughty Dog, no. Blue Point. My head says no. My heart says yes. I got to go with my head on here. I got to say no.
Yeah.
Double Fine. I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going with my heart on this one. I'm going to say yes. Tango Gameworks, no. Especially with Ghostwire hitting Xbox this year. But there is a rumor that Tango's working on a small Pentiment-sized game. So who knows? We might see that. Which, shout out to Game Pass for making those possible. And then Coalition, yeah, I think I'm with you on that 100%. Number 9, 2 questions left. And the last one's very easy. Well, very easy in that it's not a hard, like that numerous things. Number 9, highest Metacritic of 2023. You're picking the publisher here, and for bonus points, the game. Okay? So you can get a total of up to 2 points here. And your publisher choices are PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, major third party, or indie. So you're picking the publisher and the game.
It's Nintendo and it's Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay. I am going to go with... I'm going Activision Blizzard. So major third party, I'm going Diablo 4. My heart wanted to go Hollow Knight, but I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, lastly, what wins Game of the Year 2022 or 2023? Sorry.
You know what? It's gonna be Starfield, even though I know I'm contradicting myself by saying Tears of the Kingdom.
No, I don't think the highest Metacritic necessarily means it's always going to win.
Right, not necessarily. It probably is some correlation there, but yeah, not necessarily. And it could be one of those cases where at least I get one of these right. But part of me I feel like this is their time. Bethesda's going to come back, with a vengeance, and people are just going to be feeling Starfield. It's something that we've been wanting, that we've kind of been craving, that Western RPG, and now we're in space. We really haven't had that in a minute. We haven't had a Mass Effect 2 in a while, and I think this could be to that level. And this is like a totally using my heart here. So I'm gonna say Xbox and Bethesda come through. Starfield is just absolute gold. GOTY 2023. Jeff Keighley, all pumped up about it. Let's go Starfield. Let's go Todd Howard.
So my indie dark horse would be Hollow Knight Silksong. I think it comes out. I think it really has a good chance. I think my AAA dark horse is RE4 Remake. I think that has a strong chance, especially with the industry. The thing here is that I think, for better or worse, we saw what happened with God of War Ragnarok versus Elden Ring. And I do think that regardless of how great God of War Ragnarok is, it's some more of the same, for better or worse. Not that it's necessarily justified or right, but I do think Marvel Spider-Man 2 and Tears of the Kingdom are both going to suffer from that to some extent. And I do think the most refreshing thing we can get this year is Starfield if it hits. Yeah. And I think it's the thing the industry has been most thirsty for, is a Bethesda Western RPG that just is solid and awesome. And yeah, I got to go with Starfield, because I think in our mind, we got to be positive. And if Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Starfield all come out and are all good games, I think in terms of what could be defining for the year, Starfield has the best chance because it is the most different. Like I said, I know people are like, oh, Bethesda RPGs are all the same, yada, 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 this. Like, we haven't gotten a sci-fi Bethesda RPG. What does that look like? What do the systems look like? How are they going to innovate? Sure, people can reduce it to it's just a AAA No Man's Sky, but do you remember how excited people were for No Man's Sky before it shit the bag? Like, if this can deliver on the promises No Man's Sky failed to, yeah, I got to go with Starfield. Also, I just love the storyline of it. Like, Xbox finally getting a dub and getting a Game of the Year candidate after they were not only MIA in terms of winning any major awards last year, they weren't at the show, period, which is crazy and a little disappointing for somebody who prefers Xbox. So I'm with you, Starfield. But it's going to be a tough year. That Game of the Year category at the end of the year is going to be stacked. Yeah. No Strays are making it this year. Best believe no Strays are making it. And that's a double entendre there too. Strays and just Stray games. So that's it for our questions of answering, and let's get to our predictions real quick before we close out. We're going to go back and forth. We have 5 total, or at minimum 5 total. Every prediction over our 5th one, if you get it incorrect, it's -2 points. For the first 5, you either get 5 points for getting it right or you get no points. Do you want me to start off, Dom?
Yeah, go ahead.
By the end of 2023, we will have seen Avowed gameplay and the announcement of the Coalition's next game. Last release was Gears 5 in 2019, and both will be dated for 2024. This goes to your point you made earlier of Xbox wanting to have a roadmap of people getting excited for the game releases. Matt Booty and Phil Spencer have said they want to have a major release for Game Pass every quarter. And I think out of their collection of games that aren't dated yet, because I wholly believe Hellblade 2 is coming out this year, I think next up then would be Avowed and the Coalition's next project. And I think they're both dated for 2024.
I'm getting fun with this, because what else are we doing if we're not having fun here? And this is kind of a 2-parter here. We're gonna get a leak of the Switch 2 specs, right?
Ooh.
Like, 8-inch screen, this type of NVIDIA processor. I don't know the specifics, but we're gonna some leak about that, right? And then we're also going to then eventually in the same year, in 2023, get a proper announcement of the Switch 2. It will not release in 2023 though. They'll say, coming next, spring, kind of a thing. That's it. So a couple pieces to that. Switch 2, there's a leak of the specs, and then an official announcement, but no 2023 release of the device itself.
And just to clarify for listeners, this isn't Switch Pro. This is literally like a sequel console to the Switch.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it
next
is like the same design but just better processors, it'll be made clear that it's a new proper console, not an enhanced version.
Both you and I will look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's a Switch 2.
Right. It'll be clear.
Yeah. Okay, next up, both Project Belfry and Project Cobalt are finally revealed. Now let me explain what those are, because I'm not going to say project.
Okay.
So Project Cobalt is the one we talked about last year, Dom, when we went over what Xbox has in its pipeline. It's the Exile steampunk first-person RPG. Remember, we talked about it? Has the steampunk aesthetic from Exile Studios. That's Project Cobalt. I think that gets a full reveal. We get the title, all that stuff, especially since NXL recently released Wasteland 3, and they have nothing coming out, so I think they want to get their new project out there. Project Belfry is another game we talked about that I completely forgot about. This is from Stoic Studios, the developers of Banner Saga, and this is a 2D action-adventure game.
Ooh.
And they've been quiet for quite some time. And once again, they fit in that perfect place where Xbox is partnering with these smaller studios where you can still hit major releases on Game Pass without having it be your big boys. And I do think that people will lose their mind for a new game from the Banner Saga team, because I think a lot of people consider that one of the most underrated indie darlings of all time, and their art style is immaculate. I'm very excited to see what this can be, and Project Belfry is a dope-ass name. So I think both Project Belfry and Project Cobalt get revealed this year from those studios. What's your number 2?
Xbox Game Pass is going to have a price increase. That base subscription that's currently $10 per month is going to go up to $12 per month. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Starfield's going to come out. Redfall is going to come out. We're going to see the next Gears game, some other shit. Xbox is going to be hitting, and hopefully our other predictions about Starfield being GOATY, that kind of a game. Like, it's going to be Xbox is firing on all cylinders. They're going to be in their like From Software mode. And with that, later in the year, they're going to just slip in a quick price increase to the Game Pass. Not much, just a couple bucks. Just push it up a bit. Times are tough, inflation, and like they're going to have been now putting out the bangers of games to make it easily justifiable, and no one's going to hesitate, and having a fit about it or anything like that.
Well, I mean, especially if what I think comes true in that Redfall comes out early, then Starfield hits middle of the year towards the beginning, and then I think Hellblade's coming out at the end of the year. I think, yeah, that's a little bit more of a softer blow. But I am with you in the point that I think Xbox has to be in a place of positivity before they announce a price increase.
Yeah.
And
they can
I'm always
that.
seen they're smart enough to wait for that, and hopefully that's the case. Yeah. Number 3, Xbox announces full remakes of 2 classic games and or franchises, one of them releasing in 2023. My dream would be Psychonauts 1, maybe not by Double Fine, but using the Double Fine engine for Psychonauts 2, because I know they like to work on original games, so maybe they have a side team, or Xbox just has a different team working on the remake, and Banjo-Kazooie remake. Those 2 would be my dream, but I'm just leaving it a little bit more blank. 2 full remakes coming out, announced this year, one of them coming out this year.
Okay. That's it.
Because it could even be the Fallout remake that we've heard about too.
Man, I want any Fallout remake.
The New Vegas remake. Yeah, your turn. Number 3.
All right. I'm gonna say we get Game Boy games and
okay,
added to the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, right? Because they added N64 games. I think like last year or the year before they started doing that, and they added that second pricing tier, in which we're getting to we got to the point of like, I don't know, guys, you're asking kind of a lot of money for what these are. So I think we kind of just get these, and it's going to be the basic Game Boy games, and Game Boy Color games, not even advanced, not those games, but and it, as always, like 3 or 4 at a time of just kind of not the ones we'd necessarily pick right away sort of games. But I think that happens this year.
I like that one. It's an interesting one. For my fourth one.
Because obviously we all want like GameCube games added to that, but it's like, come on, we're not that lucky, right? We're just
come on now, be realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna stick in the world of Nintendo for this one. Number 4, new 3D Super Mario revealed. Same engine as Odyssey, but not named Odyssey 2.
I would like that. That'd be cool.
And they may never confirm it's the same engine, but once again, like the thing we said earlier, if me and you look at it like, oh yeah, this is in the Odyssey engine. You know what I mean?
We'll be able to tell. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your number 4?
Ah, man. So I keep on wanting to will this into existence. I think I predicted this in some form for the past couple years. And I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm just going to keep banging my head on this wall until if I finally break through. We're going to get a Bloodborne PC port and PS5 version. Sony, do it. It's got to happen. The way that they've been porting everything else and remastering everything else, and now seeing the success of Elden Ring, and there's even what they did with Demon Souls, with Blue Point. I feel like they can't ignore that there's money to be made here. Just put that game on PC. That alone is going to make bank. Like, sell it for $50 and people are going to absolutely buy it in droves on PC and PS5 as well. I think they could even get some sales out of that. Like, if they're going to do it with The Last of Us, and Lord knows we're going to get another Uncharted remaster probably soon too. I feel like they just, with the success of From games and the whole Soul series just growing and growing, Sony just is realizing that they have some money that they can dig into here if they just Bloodborne, man. Stop ignoring Bloodborne. Damn it.
Part of me wonders if like a Bloodborne 2 is a impossibility at this point. It's not logical really to the second part of this, but like maybe they're worried that if they put that out, then the noise for a sequel becomes even louder. But like you said, it's like free money that they can print. So
yeah,
why not?
Exactly.
My number 5. Halo Infinite major story DLC announced, part of a 2.0 revamp relaunch of the game.
Yeah, that's a great prediction. It's about damn time, obviously, and that's a really good prediction.
Yeah, I think it's time. Going back to the point of like they want to get people excited for Game Pass, will also help if that hits in the fall and they can use it as a semi-new release.
All right, so I got one more. I'm getting weird. But I'm gonna say the Xbox Activision buyout or what have you does not go through in basically the current form. So I think that there's going to be some kind of concession made by Microsoft to get this deal through. And probably in the form of like, it doesn't include a certain studio or a certain part of it, something like that, something to that effect, where they have to sell off some of it, or something's not included. I think like the current U.S. administration, the FTC or whatever it is, like just being stubborn for whatever reason on this one and trying to make a point of antitrust stuff, because that's what they're trying to be like. And even if it's not necessarily the most appropriate here, I think that some kind of concession is going to get made. But it will happen, and the deal will technically like actually go through and be it'll happen. So going with that.
My hope is that if that is that, the concession is like King, the mobile company, because like that's the one I cared the least about in the acquisition. Like, cool to make sure King isn't a part of it.
That's a good point. I forget they had that, and that feels like a natural cutout. Something that they could just cool. That's not included, and I don't know what that would mean, if that means they have to sell it, or if they could just have to go operate on their own if you're King. I don't know the specifics of how that would play out, but the prediction is, yeah, some part isn't everything they want, basically, but it still happens.
So I'm going to add a 6th one and risk it for the possibility of -2 points. By the end of 2023, a total of 2 new unannounced AAA games for Marvel and Star Wars will be revealed. I think
like
it's. I don't think it's super safe, but I think it is totally possible. So, are you adding any on, or are you sticking with your 5?
I'm gonna sit. I feel like I got weird with a bunch of those.
So I'm gonna read my extras. These don't count, but I want to go through them, and then you can read any extras if you want. That obviously aren't gonna count. So my extras: 1, no new mainline remake Pokemon game, just the DLC for Scarlet Violet this year. This obviously goes against my Fantasy Critics League of Let's Go 2. 2, there will be a Souls Easter egg in Sea of Stars, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Starfield, and Final Fantasy 16.
Whoa, real? Okay.
Dude, you know how many games, Easter egg Souls games with like a bonfire or a sword and fire, stuff like that? It's super common.
That's fair.
And all those games, I think, have lineage to why they would do it too.
Yeah.
I think even Breath of the Wild had one, I believe. 3, Carnage will be teased in Marvel Spider-Man's 2 post-credit scene, and there will be a Morbid Time meme reference in the game.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's a good. Oh, you should have went with the Morbid one especially. They'll make a joke about that for sure.
Some collectible or something, for sure.
Exactly. One line of dialogue, just acknowledging it, or just a collectible or some throwaway. Oh, that's gonna happen for sure.
I thought that was a fun one. Next one, similar to the one you actually made. Xbox's Activision Blizzard acquisition won't be completed in 2023, but I thought that was too simple, so I added a little bit on the end. And it'll be revealed that Rare's Everwild was quietly canceled, and they've been working on a new game.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not great for canceling a game, but fun prediction.
Yeah, and also I think for Rare fans, they might go for that because Everwild was a little bit more, it wasn't realistic, but it was more realistic than I think people would want from Rare. And my last one I have here, we'll know the title of Mass Effect 4, the Captain America Black Panther game, and the new BioShock by 2024.
I like that. I hope so.
I think the BioShock one is the sketchiest. I do think we get the title for Mass Effect 4 and the Black Panther game this year. I really do. Yep, those are all my extras. Or you have any extras?
Nothing fun or exciting.
I should have said the Morbid Time one, man. You have me second guessing not using that one.
It's Morbid Time. I can hear Yuri Lowenthal like saying it like, it's Morbid Time. What does that mean? Or like in reaction to some weird collectible. No, we talked. I wanted to throw in Starfield winning GOTY, but we obviously predicted that already and talked about it a bunch, so I kind of left that out.
Wait, is this the first year you've never done a Star Wars prediction?
Because what I've been predicting like Ubisoft's game for a while, right? Or what do you mean?
Yeah, you. I think every year you've predicted something Star Wars related. I think this might be the first year.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, doesn't come in front of mind right now. But we're getting Jedi Survivor, so like that's cool.
Mando season 3, 4.
There's so much going on for shows. Like, yeah, give me Mando season 3, but the Ahsoka show especially. So many things that we're learning about it that just has me just absolutely giddy and excited. Just the fact that Hayden Christensen is coming back for that, and in what form we assume, as Vader, but there's also like some rumors that some flashbacks as Anakin Skywalker, obviously too, and with a young Ahsoka. Anyway, so much. There's a lot of good Star Wars in the world.
And maybe that's why you're not yearning for unannounced stuff, because you're pretty good knowing what's coming up. So
yeah, Disney Plus gonna keep me fed. But yeah, I also considered saying, we'd finally get those Metroid Prime remasters, not Prime 4, the new game, but we know on good authority that they have those remasters and they're close to or already done, right? But they're just kind of waiting for the opportune time to release, which is just like wild to me that you would just like sit on money instead of, making money. But I feel
Insider's so confident, in fact, that one of them shaved his head because they didn't reveal it by the end of 2023.
Exactly. And Grubb has been
2022,
incredible. But yeah, it's like, it almost seemed like too easy because like it's gotta happen. But it had to happen last year too. So who the heck knows?
But at this point, it seems tied to 4, right? So it's like you have to make that with the expectation that 4 is also around the corner to some extent, I guess.
Maybe that's what it is. They want it 6 months before 4 or something. So they're waiting until they know that's sure. It just felt like a lame prediction there, or sorry, excuse me, not a super fun prediction, so I kind of left it out.
Yeah. Well, we're running a little long. We're at an hour and a half for the show, which is dope. We did our Fantasy Critics League draft, and we also did our gaming prediction. So we're not going to talk too much about what we've been playing. In the coming weeks, we're going to be doing a God of War Ragnarok spoiler cast, as well as our Game of the Year show, talking about our favorite games of 2022. And I just want to mention real quick, I finished Pentiment and High on Life, Dom. So those two are going to be interesting to see where those rank on my list when we get to that. And I have a couple more 2022 games I want to get to. I want to try to play Immortality, and I want to try to play As the Dusk Falls. And we'll see if I can get to those, both narrative-driven games. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We'll look forward to the year, see what happens in this wild world of gaming. Hopefully we both get everything we want and more. As always, you can follow us on Twitter collectively at CTRLINT. That's Controlled Interest abbreviated. You can follow Dom at OBDomKenobi. The O in OB is the number 0, not the letter O. You can follow me at Jerrad Wyche. That's JerradWyche. Go to YouTube, search Controlled Interest. We'll pop right up. Like the video, subscribe so you never miss it, and hit the bell notification because you can never trust the YouTube sub boxes. Other than that, we're on podcast services, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. Just search Controlled Interest. We'll pop right up. And as always, we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.